We book well over 100 sales calls a month for multiple of our clients, and it comes down to this one script testing framework I'm going to break down in today's video. You see, most people you talk to either don't test their scripts at all, or when they do, they don't have a large enough test size, they change 5 variables at the same time, or don't really have a structured process for testing at all. So when they finally get some data from their tests, they don't really know what actually worked. So in today's video, I'm breaking down the exact script testing framework that we use, what we test, in what order, and how this lets us scale cold email campaigns to book tens, if not hundreds of sales goals every single month for our clients. Okay, a huge element that I see most people actually get wrong when it comes to cold email script testing is variables, right? So there's multiple different variables that you can test. There's the offer, there's the angle, there is the script, there is the CTA, there's the opener, really everything, anything you could think of inside of your email script, right? Now, what I see most people get wrong is they test multiple of these variables at the same time. Now, the problem with that approach is if you're testing multiple variables at the same time, meaning you're running, let's say, 5 different scripts that are all completely different, they have different CTAs, different offers, different angles, different email length as well, you're never really going to know if a certain script worked better than the others, why it worked better than the others, right? Because you had so many different variables that you were testing at the same time. So a big component in our cold email testing framework is we start with one variable, we test one variable at a time, and we start with the most important, most impactful variables. Now, really, the most impactful variables are your offer, right? Your cold traffic offer, as well as your ICP, so the target market that you're going after. Now, if you have one specific ICP, you don't need to test target markets, you don't need to test ICPs. But most people, most companies have multiple different ideal customer profiles that they can sell to. And so what we typically start for our clients is we start by testing the ICPs. If they have a large enough total addressable market and we understand, okay, we can go after different ICPs, and then depending on the one that's working best, we're going to essentially focus on that one, right? Now we're going to test different ICPs. And so the first thing that we're going to do is create different campaigns based on the ICP, right? So we're going to create a campaign for, let's say they're targeting like lawyers, let's say another campaign going after home service companies, let's say another campaign targeting SaaS companies, depending on all the types of target markets that they can go after, right? So that's the first thing you can test. And it actually has a very, very high leverage in the types of prospects that you get on a sales call with, types of prospects you're speaking to. So there's a huge leverage, right? So if you have multiple different ICPs, I would recommend you testing out the ICPs and seeing what actually works best, right? Now, second thing is you could test the offer. So that's typically when we start, where we start for our clients. We test the offer. And when I say the offer, I mean, there's really just one core offer, but you can position it in different angles, right? So you can essentially position the same offer through different angles like you can see here. So we would test different angles, which is essentially the pain point plus the desired outcome of a specific target avatar, right? So we're going to come up with, 3 to 6 different angles that have a different pain point and a different desired outcome that's attached to that pain point that we can solve. And we're going to come up with these 3 to 6 typically different angles, right? Now, the way it works is we're going to start campaigns and then we're going to put them all in one campaign. Now, remember what I mentioned earlier about the one variable per test? You want to make sure that when you're testing this, let's say you're testing the angle, you want to make sure the list is the same, the targeting is the same, the email length is the same, the script framework is the same. I'm not saying the exact script because obviously if you're testing different angles, the script is going to change, right? But the script framework, so the email length, whether you're using an opener, whether you're going direct to the offer, all of those things need to be the same because again, if you're testing multiple variables at the same time, you're never really going to know why a certain variable or a certain script or certain variant of your sequence worked better than others, right? So once you've tested your angles, what you want to do, and this applies to really any variable of your script testing process, once you tested the variable and you found out that one specific variant of your email script, one specific angle of your email sequence worked best, what you want to do is pick that variant as an example. In this case, let's say that Angle 1 didn't work well. So angle 1 completely failed, got us 0 positive responses. Angle 2, got us positive responses. Let's say 1 positive response. Still really bad, let's say, compared to our average conversion rate, but let's assume that angle 2 didn't also work well either, right? Now, angle 3, as an example, let's say it got us 5 positive responses. So angle 3, we can consider this a winner, right? So we're going to keep angle 3 in our sequence. And then angle 4, let's say as well, it got us 3 positive responses. So depending on how many positive responses, how many results we got from the other angles, we're going to say, okay, angle 4 also worked well, right? So from here, what you want to do is pick the best performing angles. Now, for sake of simplicity, let's just say that we tested just 3 angles. And angle 3 was the best performing one, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to pick angle 3. In this case, it was a specific pain point plus a desired outcome attached to the pain point. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pick the script that we used for angle 3, and we're going to come up with different other variants based on the new other variable that we want to test starting from angle 3, right? So what this means is we pick angle 3, so we use the same exact pain point plus desired outcome, and then we're going to test the next variable here in our script testing framework, right? Because we understood, okay, angle 3 is the best performing angle when it comes to the pain point plus desired outcome. Now, what else can we test to maximize our conversion rates, right? What you're trying to do always at all times with cold email script testing is maximize our conversion rates, right? So typically the conversion rate that we are essentially tracking is there's different conversion rates that you want to track. There's like the reply rate, there's the positive reply rate, there is the open rate, which we don't really track, but if you're tracking the open rate, you could track that as well. But really and then the booking rate as well. So how many positive replies you're booking on a call. So there's different variables or different metrics that you could test and you could keep track of. Now, really what matters is one really good metric that we track is the leads contacted to positive reply ratio. So basically, how many leads do I need to contact to get a single positive response? Now, ideally, we are tracking like positive replies to leads contacted, which is one metric. Ideally, you want to frame your testing framework around a more bottom of funnel result, right? So, I mean, both qualified shut-up sales calls, and then eventually close deals, right? So that's really what you want to aim for, what you want to maximize. It's that conversion rate, not necessarily replies or positive replies, right? For sake of simplicity here, we're going to track the positive reply to leads contacted ratio. But again, you want to frame your script testing framework around maximizing the number of closed deals, the amount of revenue you collect from a given list of prospects, right? So going back to our script testing framework right here, we're always trying to maximize the conversion rate here, right? So let's say angle 3 was the best performing angle. We're going to create a new variable here. And let's say that now we're going to test as an example, the CTA, right? We can have a CTA that's a high friction, let's say a direct to demo. Let's say you're selling a SaaS product and you want to book demos with your prospects. You can ask in the CTA something like, would you be open to a demo to show you what this could look like for you, to show you how this SaaS platform could work for your company, right? For your specific use case. So that will be a direct to demo call to action you could test, right? You could also test a lead magnet CTA, right? Let's say you have a lead magnet and you would like to push traffic and have people download or consume your lead magnet and then book a demo from there. That's also a strategy that you could use. Now, keep in mind here, when you're testing these different CTAs and these different, let's say, offers as well, the lead magnet CTA, because it is a lower friction CTA, it is going to generate more positive responses. Usually, if the lead magnet is good, if people are interested in the lead magnet, not always the case. People might not be interested in the lead magnet, so you might just not get more positive response. You might get less, but usually because it is a lower friction CTA, you're going to get more positive responses. When you're asking for a demo, when you're asking for a call straight away, you're typically going to receive less positive responses, but those people are actually easier to book on a call with you, right? While people who just responded saying, yes, I want to receive this lead magnet, are going to be way harder to book on a call with you, simply because their commitment, their intent wasn't as high as the people who said yes to booking a demo, right? So this really matters, because when you're tracking the positive reply rates and the positive replies you're getting from these variants, you always want to keep this in mind. And like I mentioned before, ideally you want to track the amount of sales calls that you book from each of these variants, not necessarily only the positive responses, because they could literally be inflated by you using a lower friction call to action, and therefore essentially getting more positive responses that are not booking at the same rate as the positive responses that you get from a direct to demo call to action. Hopefully that makes sense. And then as well, you could test other CTAs, but let's say for the sake of simplicity here, we're going to test 2 CTAs. So again, let's recap here, right? We tested 3 different angles. We found angle 3 was the best performing one in terms of pain point plus desired outcome. Now we're picking angle 3, and then we are now running 2 different variants with the angle 3, so with the same pain point and the same promised desired outcome. And we are testing the CTA, either a direct to demo CTA or a lead magnet CTA. Now from there, you understand, okay, what's the best performing CTA? Again, like I mentioned before, don't necessarily track the positive responses per CTA or per variant. You want to track more bottom of funnel metrics, such as booked calls and potentially closed deals, ideally. And then you want to pick the best performing one, and then again, test another variant. So hopefully it starts making sense now. Really, the way the testing process works is we run one variable at the same time. We test it, we see the best performing variants, and then we go to the next variable. We test it again, see the best performing variants, and then this is sort of a ongoing cycle until we get to literally the best performing, maximally converting cold email scripts, right? That's typically what we do, right? So as an example here, you could be testing the angle, you could be testing CTA, you could be testing literally just a script, right? So the script, I mean like how you position the offer. You might position the offer in a different way. You might add an opener to your email script, right? You might just keep email length as well. You might keep like a specific email, a specific script that's super short, still has the same angle 3 that worked best, still has the same CTA that worked best here. Let's say it was a lead magnet CTA, for example, but you might add an opener, you might just make it very short. So short email, longer email. And then as well, another variable that we test a lot after we have essentially tested all these different variables is the personalization. So typically when we do get to a point where we know there's a best performing offer, there's a best performing angle with a pain point and a desired outcome, what we're going to do as well is we're going to test the personalization, right? We generally start with generic non-personalized emails, meaning they just have the first name and company name in the email script, but we don't really add any other personalization fields at the beginning usually. So in this case, we might want to test personalization. So you might test, AI personalization, and you might test another variable without AI personalization, right? So I have seen instances where AI personalization literally 4 to 5x our positive reply rate. So like literally we went from a 6% positive reply rate to a 30% positive reply rate just by adding AI personalization. So each of these variables can really have a massive impact in your results. That being said, there's one more thing I wanted to mention about testing with cold email. You always want to make sure that you have a large enough test size, right? So what I mean by this is you might be sending like 100 cold emails with 3 different angles. However, that's certainly not enough for you to say, okay, this was the best performing angle or the best performing variant, because it's simply not a large enough test size. So what you want to make sure you do is you have at least 1,000 leads contacted per angle. That's typically what we run right now. And a lot of the time, it depends on the target market. There's certain offers in certain target markets where we receive a very high reply rate, very high conversion rate. And so as a result, we don't really need to send so many emails to test a variable. We might need to send less, like 500 as an example. And in some other cases, we might be in a very, very commoditized or very saturated niche, very saturated offer. So we might have very low conversion rate as a result of that. And therefore, we might need to send more, as an example, 2,000 leads per variant to be able to say, okay, this was the best performing one. But essentially, you want to make sure you have a large enough test size before you deem, okay, this one was the best performing variant, right? This is very important because if you don't have a large enough test size, you're literally just going to go blind and pretty much make decisions based on no data, right? Or wrong data, right? If you're sending 100 cold emails per variant here and you're getting like one positive response from here and 0 from these two, very, very little data doesn't necessarily tell you that angle one is the best performing one as an example, right? So hopefully that makes sense. And this applies to all of these different variables, right? Whether you're testing the CTA, whether you're testing the angle, whether you're testing the script, personalization, always make sure that you have a large enough test size. All right, now you know the exact script testing framework that we use to book 100 plus sales calls per month for our clients. Now, if you want our team to handle this exact process for you and run your entire outbound system, including email infrastructure creation, list building, campaign strategy, copywriting, testing, and scaling, literally from A to Z, while all you need to do is take the sales calls with your little prospects and close the deals, click the first link in the description below to apply to work with us on a done-for-you basis. If you'd rather handle the system yourself and have someone else take care of your email infrastructure, check out Scamo. It's a second link in the description below. We set up your entire email infrastructure from A to Z, including domains, admin panels, inboxes, deliverability to maximize the chances of you reaching your prospect's primary inbox. Otherwise, go check out this other video I'm gonna link here where I'll walk you through the exact outbound system that we use to book 10 plus sales calls per day for multiple of our clients, and I'll see you on the other video.